Oh man, I don't even. How do I open the podcast? It's been so long.
What is this thing?
I think this is where I sing a song. Boys are back in town.
Boys are back in town.
Or hey, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Just kidding. I've never known how to intro this podcast.
I never will.
I believe I'm Lucas Melby.
I still could be Jacob Tellijohn.
And this is a whole new pod?
A pod that's new.
Who thought of that fucking name? That's the name you went with? A whole new pod?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're back. We are the podcast about
Disney
Channel original movies.
After a
you might have forgotten.
Hiatus.
We've almost been gone a whole month. Maybe I'll get this up on the last day of July, but this is the longest break we've ever taken. We've taken month breaks before, but this is like a month plus. And it's not Jacob's fault this time.
No, it's not. It's Lucas's.
And hearing us, just me and Jacob talking now, it's also not that we were trying to get somebody else on the podcast.
Fault.
It's
just the way life goes sometimes.
On better podcasts, usually at the intro, they talk about, this is the banter section where they catch up on life. But me and Jacob's lives are always boring.
We don't do anything.
We don't talk very much. But obviously you can guess that maybe some stuff happened in the interim.
Yes.
Still maybe not the most interesting, but just to be up in front. After the last episode we had, which was Camp Rock 2, which was a good movie to leave off on for a long break.
Yes.
It wasn't purposeful that we took so long to do our Avalon High episode, but in a way it's fitting with how this movie actually turned out.
Yeah.
But the next weekend we would have recorded normally would have been the 4th of July weekend, and I told Jacob, I just want to have a break. I just want to enjoy the full holiday weekend.
I need a break
the
for
podcast.
me. It's understandable. I get it.
Well, we actually hung out as friends. It was pretty weird.
Yeah.
But we hung out as IRL friends that weekend and watched Last Night in Soho.
We saw Weird Al.
We got a whole saga.
God, yeah.
The saga begins for the Weird Al fans out there.
This has been a
so that's on me. We really should have ended up recording with how things turned out, but I was so young and naive back then. So we skipped our normal recording weekend. And then the following weekend, I already knew I was going to be going to New York City to visit my brother. So that took out a chunk of time because obviously we could record during the week. But generally, we don't do that because we're so tired. So we choose to record after Fridays after a full week of work. And that makes total sense, right?
Yes.
So we went to New York and that had its own ups and downs that I'm not going to really bore you with. But then when I got home and it was time to record because it was getting to the weekend, my roommates had COVID.
Roommates.
And Jacob lacks certain protections, so we weren't going to record. But then it lined up that after my roommates were kind of recovering from COVID, then I was sick with COVID. So that basically wound up with like another 2 weeks of being off. I'm still somewhat lingering symptoms, so if I sound a little different or if there's some nose noises, those could be coming from me this episode.
Might not be coming from me.
Mouth noises still exclusively coming from Jacob.
Guilty. Any
weird audio stuff, that's just because we haven't recorded for a while. Or it's just because that's how we always are. Now we're here. So it was a break, but for some of it, I wasn't really enjoying the break necessarily.
That's not fun.
And now we're back to keep the journey going. We were so consistent this year, and now we're completely thrown off. But we gotta draw out the time. We gotta make the time last longer, otherwise the podcast will end. Related to when the podcast could end, though, is I don't know if I knew this. I talked about Zombies 3 being an actual thing, but now Zombies 3 is out. So Zombies 1 is only about zombies.
Oh.
Zombies 2 introduced werewolves. So what does Zombies 3 got? Aliens.
Oh, God. That's like not even the same realm.
So that's neither here nor there, but I just want to be excited about all the zombies.
I think
so
that's
ready.
Exciting. Yeah, that's cool.
So Jacob, what do you got to say? Oh, and then we went to Weird Al. So the first weekend where I was maybe recovered, but still potentially infectious. Then we also went to Weird Al.
That was a lot of fun.
We couldn't, we can't double up on. I need my me time.
Yes, fair.
So now I'm recuperated, ready, full of vim and vigor to talk about Avalon High.
Avalon High, yeah. It's not a movie we're familiar with, I'll tell you that.
2010 we had, I can't remember what some of the other movies were, We had Camp Rock 2, which we thought should have been a big DCOM, but maybe wasn't actually as big as, in my mind, I thought the Camp Rock movies were. But we also have now had at least 2 DCOMs that I would argue should not exist. Like Den Brother was the first one, and now we have Avalon High, which for whatever reason I associated with, probably just because it was called Avalon High. I was thinking of Sky High. I thought this would be some kind of superhero high school movie.
It is about knights.
If you were a nerd, you maybe would be like, Avalon, of course that's going to be King Arthur. I didn't expect that. If this was a superhero high school movie, it probably still would have been bad, just in a different way. But this movie, was bad in some unexpected ways, even knowing that it was going to be a King Arthur related movie.
I mean, like Twitches is kind of set in medieval times, but
it's unique that you bring up Twitches because this movie was directed by Stuart Gilliard, I believe is his name, who has directed at least one DCOM I liked a lot, which was Hatching Pete. Yeah. But he has directed all of the Twitch, or I shouldn't say all, both Twitches movies. So thinking, how will these DCOMs manage medieval kind of settings or themes? Well, we kind of got a taste of that with Twitches, and it didn't go well.
Did we like Twitches, the original, more than the second one?
I think so. Yeah. But they're both not high on my list of DCOMs, and this won't be either.
No.
In some ways, it's definitely a more cohesive movie than Twitches, but it is still very boring. But the magical stuff it has in it is more successful than the Twitches movies.
Yeah, no, like, there are some, the movie as a whole, I'm not a big fan of, but there were some really cool, I think, like, scenes and stuff that incorporated.
Oh, yeah?
You know, I don't know. I mean, like, first half, 3/4 of the movie is very dull. It's a lot of running.
And not fun running. This isn't a fun run.
No, it's like workout running.
And we don't want to make this a marathon episode. Let's sprint right into it. We open on one of the more, I don't know, we haven't talked about title sequences too much recently. But there's an actual title card that looks interesting enough. It's a shield, kind of a crest that has Avalon High on it. So you're immediately getting the medieval vibes, especially because then we're cutting to a unique location for a medieval movie, which is a beach that there's just a bunch of knights. Actually, I thought it was 2 parties of knights charging at each other in a joust way. But it actually was supposed to be a big group of knights going against one knight.
Yeah.
It just maybe wasn't cut together the best to make me realize that. Or, I'm always looking up and down taking my notes. So there's one knight getting ahead of the group and they are charging, and then we see that they've fallen down. But this knight, let me ask you a question. What if this knight was a girl?
Oh.
And in this case, it is a girl.
It is a lady.
And it is a dream also. So it's a dream of a girl as a knight. And that girl is our main character, Allie Pennington.
Yeah.
Which what I know about King Arthur
Pennington
is very limited. But I believe Arthur's name is Arthur Pendragon.
Oh.
So maybe that's some slight association with her last name, as we'll get to at the very end of the movie.
Checks out.
And I'm just going to get up front with this as the movie will go along. I don't know. I've said this before. I don't know who this movie is for. This movie is...
that's what I was kind of alluding to at the end of it. I mean, I think there was maybe... When did, I don't know, what is it, like Princess Bride or whatever? Was that kind
the
of like
80s.
Yeah, right? That was kind of the same kind of vibe, right? Or it was like medieval stuff, wasn't it, or no?
Princess Bride is kind of a lot of tropes of fairy tales kind of all rolled into one, so and having fun with it. I don't think it's fair at all to the Princess Bride to mention it the same.
But I'm just saying, like these movies about knights and stuff just aren't made anymore.
This one, I mean, this is 2010, and I believe this movie actually was filmed in New Zealand, which is, of course, where The Lord of the Rings was filmed, so that adds some similar production values. Yeah. And it's possible that they were still some interest in medieval style
stuff. This is like a script that was in a bin since 1999. They were going to make this or under wraps.
So this is apparently based on a book, but it's not. It's very loosely based from what I understand.
Okay.
Changes a lot of stuff, which is good because it's bad. So it would be a bad book if it played out exactly like this.
Yeah, I would say.
But it's not even just that, whether there's interest in knights and whatever, that this is like very specifically about King Arthur stuff. And enough King Arthur stuff that I was never big into King Arthur and whatever.
No.
But there's references that are like, oh, if you're a big King Arthur fan, if those exist, you would be excited about this. In a way that, like, the closest thing for me would have been, like, Greek mythology, where I got into those books when I was younger. Reading books about Greek mythology, and then, like, God of War. But then there's, like, the Percy Jackson books and movies. And I feel like that's more approachable and interesting than, like, King Arthur, especially the way this DCOM plays out, where, like, sometimes the King Arthur stuff is, like, the least important thing happening in the movie.
I mean, well, sometimes it's just buddies having fights over girls, which is nothing to do with
that's classic Knight stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently.
It's High School Musical meets...
well, it's not High School Musical.
No.
You can just say it's a high school movie.
It's a high school movie meets...
There'll be a lot of stuff that is surprising with how mundane it is for this movie that's
Halloween
about...
Town High meets...
Yes.
Medieval.
Guy who saw Boss Baby is saying, this is giving me Boss Baby vibes. Exactly. It's the only movie I've seen. Okay, so that's a whole lot of a tangent, but Allie Pennington, our main character, we see her wake up from this dream. She's looking at some class brochure for Avalon High. We learn she's a new kid coming to Avalon High, moved there recently, and both of her parents are medieval literature professors, specifically seeming to specialize in King Arthur shit.
They have a lot of books.
Almost all of their house is books.
Yeah, when they go to unload their vehicle with all they have is books. That's all they brought with them.
Maybe don't even need furniture. They can just make thrones of books and stuff like that.
Yes.
It doesn't even really seem to be important, but it's set up that Allie has moved a lot as a kid, which I don't really... Aren't these professors tenured anywhere? Why would they be moving so much? But they're going to be specifically staying in wherever Avalon High is for 3 years, which
as
is
opposed
exciting.
To 6 months or a month even, which
it's exciting for Allie because she wants to try out for track and field, but she never does because she always has to leave too soon.
Yeah.
And she never gets to make friends. So, now I get to do that because we're not going to move. So then we cut to one of several scenes of Allie running, but this one felt particularly like the opening of an anime with its uplifting song accompanying it. She's just running around town to certain sites that we'll see multiple times in other running montages that occur. And she runs into immediate boy love interest, Will Wagner.
Will Wagner.
Not any kind of Arthurian parallels with his name that I'm aware of.
No.
But we see her flash to a vision, it seems, like her dreams, possibly, where she is... They see each other at a drinking fountain, so she's flashing to a vision of her in armor, filling up a goblet to give to Will, also in armor. Whatever, I don't care.
It is.
And they talk, and they're awkward, or at least I felt that they were awkward, but maybe it was supposed to be cute. Will is, I can't remember his actor's name, but he is a British American actor, and he struggles to keep it a normal American accent through most of the movie.
Throughout the movie, like, there are times, he just, I don't know, I don't want to say he sounds, it's weird.
It's either he's a bad actor, or his really delivery
heavy.
comes off as stilted because he's struggling to keep the American accent.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's fair.
And with this movie being shot in New Zealand, they could have just had it be set somewhere where it'd be fine that he had an accent.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like any part of America that I've ever been in, because there's weird trees and stuff around. Then it's the first day of school for her. I think it's still like the middle of the school year, possibly. She shows up and she sees Will, who immediately is shown to be heroic by coming to the rescue of nerdy kid Miles, who is being bullied by Marco, who is actually the stepbrother of Will.
So why was he bullying? I mean,
you keeping up with this?
So at the end of the movie, we don't need to spoil anything, but it doesn't explain why he's bullying this kid.
Well, he kind of says why, but it doesn't make any sense.
No.
But we're getting a fair bit ahead of ourselves. But this is making Allie like Will even more because he's such a nice guy. He's wearing his Letterman jacket. He's a cool football player. She asks him.
Good dude, man.
She's like, oh, since you were running yesterday, are you in track and field? And he's like, nah, football, brah.
Exactly.
And she's like, oh my. But then immediate douche chill by Jen, Will's girlfriend, popping up. Yeah. Along with Will's best friend, Lance, also on the football team.
Drama.
Who seems a little into Jen, because he says, isn't Jen the best? She's the coolest girl in school.
Yeah.
And chill out a bit, Lance. So already we've gotten a whole host of characters introduced and dynamics and relationships, some of which will parallel, I guess, some Arthurian stuff, and those will be spelled out even more explicitly for us. But then some of it is just a complete red herring, and some of the stuff that was a red herring isn't apparently even accurate to Arthur legend. So it's like, who is this actually for? Again, like, these parallels are supposed to be like, I know what that is. I clap because I know what that is. But, like, who could actually know this?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody cares.
So, coincidentally, her first class is European history with Mr. Moore.
Yeah.
Who is also apparently the class that all of the other characters are in.
Naturally.
So they go there, and Mr. Moore is played by, I should have looked up his actor's name, but he is played by a guy who sometimes is explicitly a villain, like when he plays the boogeyman in Don't Look Under the Bed.
Yes.
Or he's a surprise kind of villain, as in the Wizards of Waverly Place movie. And spoilers, he is the villain of this movie, but it is not really foreshadowed at all, really.
I mean, he kind of, in the beginning of the movie, kind of gives off kind of creepy vibes, you know.
He has a limp and a cane, so that means he's
like just
mysterious.
The way he talks and kind of like looks, he kind of looks kind of spooky.
Well, he's another guy where it's like, is he supposed to have an accent?
Yeah.
Because he at least slightly does, and maybe as the only person with this explicit accent, that means he's evil.
Yes.
He's handing out group project assignments, and that ultimately ended up not being the most important, because it's like, oh, all these characters have these connections. Oh, Will, yours is about the sports of Camelot. So it's about European history, but then they have this whole segment about King Arthur shit, which then he also brings up that he knows that Allie's parents are these professors, and they're going to use some textbook written by them, so that's only important because he knows who Allie's parents are. Jen, who I can't remember if she's paired up with Lance or not, she gets the tragedy of Camelot, which then Mr. Moore says it's explicitly about the love triangle between Lancelot, Arthur, and Guinevere. If that's not heavy enough foreshadowing, don't worry, the movie will hit you over the head with its parallels. Lastly, Allie is paired up with Miles, the kid who's getting bullied by Marco.
Yeah.
And they get the Order of the Bear, which I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but Mr. Moore says, talk to your parents. I'm not allowed to teach you about the birds, the bees, and the Order of the Bear. You got to ask your parents about that. Miles seems reluctant to...
It is a real thing.
All right.
King Arthur would one day be reincarnated. That's
what it says on Google? Yep. And this isn't just like Avalon High wiki page or something? But Miles seems reluctant to have Allie as his partner, and then also seems to be having weird visions and headaches that like seem to be predictive.
It is. It's based on the book.
Okay, so it is made
from the book. Okay, yeah.
All right. So
maybe, I don't know. It's actually tough to tell. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, we can't do during the airing research. It always has to be me saying something, and as I'm editing it, being like, I wonder if what I said was true, and then I look it up and it's like, no, I'm completely wrong.
Like there's other stuff that says, yes, it is in fact real. It is an organization that believes King Arthur will be one day reincarnated.
Well, if it is real, I've never heard of it. But I haven't heard of a lot of this stuff.
No, I don't think it's real.
So then she tries out for the track team and nearly breaks a school record.
Had we seen her jog yet before this? Okay, yes.
But she is only a second ahead of the girls she's running against.
But she almost breaks the record. It's the fastest time they've ever seen.
For a sprint, maybe that's meaningful, but it's never really brought up again that she's so good at running.
No. But, I mean, she does mention to her parents, I think, that night when she gets home, I almost broke the record on my very first day. But yeah, she doesn't go on to break it. Why doesn't she break it?
I'm going to wreck it.
Ralph.
So then she comes home, and I can't remember if she's talking to her parents about the Order of the Bear. But then Miles shows up and he says, we got to do this paper that's due in 3 weeks. And she's like, nerd much. And then they ask the parents about the Order of the Bear, and they bust out some super big old book that I don't know why they would be the sole guardians of. But then there's some very legally distinct sounding Lord of the Rings, I'm talking to you about the One Ring. I mean, the book about the guardian of the Guardians, or the Orders of the Bear. And the Order of the Bear, as Jacob was reading off of Google, is some kind of organization that is preparing the way for the reincarnation of King Arthur to bring about an age of enlightenment or change, which is like, I don't know, is this supposed to be like some Jesus Christ stuff? This seems like weird Christian crossover. The parents are super nerdy, but the dad's like, I don't really believe this, but the mom is like, I super believe this. Miles has some more visions that he asks to get some ice, but as he's getting up to get the ice, Jacob, you really reacted to this when...
Well, yes, so like I said, this is the first time he has like his premonition that I can remember, but it's weird how he does it, because he's like, oh, you need to get some ice. So he starts to walk to her fridge, and then by him getting up, like she must have been going to help him, then she hurts herself. And then he gets the ice and then gives it to her, and she's like, how'd you know I was going to get hurt?
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, it's like if he didn't get up, she wouldn't have gotten hurt.
So also there's something about the Order of the Bear, I forgot that it's kind of set up, so it's already like, is this just a weird like Christianity metaphor? But then there's also like, actually it's kind of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because also maybe the Order of the Bear is looking for the Arthur born to every generation, which is like what the Slayer is in Buffy, which then... doesn't seem as meaningful with Arthur, because then wouldn't Arthur have always come back every 100 years or whatever? Also, there's this guy named Mordred who's bad, and his followers are trying to stop Arthur from coming back. I don't know too much about King Arthur, as I've said a lot. I've never heard of Mordred. But Mordred is very important to this movie. And again, it's like, if I've seen, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and they didn't talk about Mordred, what teenage girl in 2010 is going to know who the fuck Mordred is watching this? Who is this movie for? Well, it's for us because we had to watch it. Then Allie wakes up in the middle of the night and goes and looks at this book and sees a picture of Camelot, which looks mysteriously and coincidentally very much like Avalon High, the school building.
I also like that. It was just kind of like they pull the image out of the book and it does like
the image morphs or transforms to look like the school, and then it phases into the school. So again,
who knows?
It's a cool effect, but it's also like, we're going to make sure you know exactly what we're going for in this movie.
Like, who knows if that's like an actual depiction of it, and this is maybe a school that was actually, built to kind of look like it, I mean, if that's the case, I think that would be more cool, but I mean, that's like...
No, they did not construct an entire building.
No, but I mean, like, that building could have been built after what it looked like. This is what I'm saying.
Sure, man. Mr. Moore suspiciously asks Allie
I'm going to call him Morbius.
If... We're the last month we've been gone. We missed prime Morbius time. But he's asking Allie, did your parents show you the Order of the Bear book? And she's like, yeah. Do you want to see it? No. I couldn't. I couldn't see it. And it's like, no. At this point I already knew that he was going to be the villain of the movie because I saw stuff online. Not that it's very clear.
Spoiled.
But it's like, I don't know why he was protesting so much, because he does eventually look at the book. But also, I feel like it shouldn't matter that he needs to look at the book anyways. Not to repeat myself too much, she goes for another run.
She's always running. When is this girl not running?
And this run is spurred on that she's walking into the halls and she sees Will's girlfriend, Jen, getting too close to Will's best friend, Lance. What's going on there? Well, she channels Kevin Bacon to run during an emotional song. And then she's wearing like a beanie and it blows off her head. And it fatefully blows into the hands of Will, who is sitting underneath a tree.
The lap of Sir Wilhelm.
And they go and talk, and there's so much dumb shit.
He's like, oh, it's the fate. The fate brought you here to me.
Nobody seems to know about this tree in this forest. I'm like, it's not even a forest. It's just like a park with this one weird tree that doesn't look natural to America.
They do return to this tree one or two other times in the
movie. Makes it seem like it's important, but it's actually not. It's just a tree that they go to.
Yeah, like, I don't know. They could have pulled the sword out of it or something. I don't know.
And this is the beginning of this movie, which is, again, about this special Camelot fucking high school.
Yeah.
But it just starts to become a movie filled with the most tropey high school bullshit where he's like, I'm the football captain, but I don't know if I like football as much as I used to. but I need to get a scholarship. It's kind of my whole thing, and I don't know if I care anymore.
That's kind of what like you said, that's kind of what it is. It takes all these tropes from all these other high school movies that we've seen. It takes magical stuff. It takes, I'm the jock that doesn't know what he wants.
That's why I was saying, like, the magical stuff is almost completely in the background for the whole movie.
It doesn't fully commit to one of them.
Because we're getting love triangle drama with his best friend and girlfriend. Which is maybe the steamiest. It is pretty wild, or the most, like, Euphoria high school.
Yeah, like they're making out in the hallway.
I think they make out at the party, but I don't even know if I actually saw them.
They're definitely touchy, and he doesn't catch them for a while.
No,
either.
he's like, maybe willfully ignorant about it.
Wow.
But she gives him a motivational speech about, like, you're so good at sports. I don't know. I didn't really care. He's all on to it, and then they go and eat burgers with her parents, and the dad is kind of a nerdy guy, so he burns the burgers or something. I don't know. I don't want to go into the details about how I think his grill doesn't make any sense, because I'm not a grill meister myself. Maybe if Sam Blazing was here.
Grill meister, I like that name.
Sam Blazing knows about fire and stuff. So then my notes say, if we were just kind of talking about, somehow this Camelot high school movie then has a football game. And this football game is all about, like, like the announcers even at one point is like, if Will wins this, he's going to lead the team to state. But they play like 2 more football games after this.
They never actually go to state.
They win this game, though. So Allie went to the game with Miles, and then her and Miles then go to the victory after party, which is just at somebody's house.
But they've changed clothes. They look much nicer.
Wardrobe change. It looks like they're going to, like, their first communion or something.
Yeah.
And it's like mid-afternoon, so it's not like some kind of wild party. So it's not Euphoria high school stuff yet. And this is where we get more about Marco, because we kind of forgot what his deal is. But his deal is he's mean. So there's all this food and people scream because he has put candy spiders on them. And then he picks up the spider and eats it and be like, hey, man, they're just candy. Everybody's a wimp. This party sucks. I'm gonna leave.
Towards the end of the movie, this is not necessarily explained why he's being a dick.
No.
There's no reason that he's being a...
there is a reason, because Allie then asks Will, like, what's his problem? Well, he's complicated.
And then
and then he says, he's just really mad. And I'm like, oh, really?
Because my father married his mother.
Because his dad died, which is classic bully stuff. His dad died, and then his mom married Will's dad. And I'm like, oh, shit, I forgot that they were stepbrothers.
Yeah, I forgot as well.
During this party, Miles is also having some more visions, and
like I feel bad for the dude. Like, it looks just like migraines are.
Yeah, he's got, like, the visions are kind of like seizures that come.
But they come with like really sharp sounds in the movie. It's like I don't even. It's like really.
It's pretty basic, vision or seizure sound effects.
It's not fun.
Allie tries to find the bathroom. First, she opens a door and sees a random crown laying around, and then she has a vision of, like, the crown. I can't remember if she's wearing the crown or Will's wearing the crown. That doesn't fully make sense. Maybe it's just the iconography triggering for her. But then, very boldly, she also sees Jen and Lance maybe kissing. I can't remember if they kissed. Just in an open room. Yeah. The door is open, and Will is around at this party, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then they see her, and they're like, no, you don't understand. You can't tell him. What don't I understand? Well, like, I like Will, but I also really like Lance. Okay, well, that doesn't seem really that complicated, actually. But then it's played up more. Well, it's not even played up. Jen explicitly says, like, this is just like Guinevere, Lancelot, and Arthur, where Guinevere and Lancelot couldn't tell Arthur because it would have broken his heart, and he wouldn't have been able to be a good king anymore. Oh, well, we can't tell Will. Otherwise, he's going to lose the big game.
Yeah, and they actually do say the big game.
We'll get to that.
It's maybe the first time it's ever been mentioned verbally.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Allie, for whatever reason, just brings the book, the Special Order of the Bear book, to Mr. Moore.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah, don't mind if I do.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, after all of his, like, his mental manipulation of, oh, don't bring it in here. It's so fragile.
Which it's not. I mean, they're all handling it without gloves
and
or
they're
anything.
ripping
it's
it
supposed to be like
at
this
some
ancient
point.
text.
They're ripping stuff apart in it.
Yeah. Will and Allie. Allie's been trying to avoid Will because she doesn't want to like openly lie to him by not saying anything.
In the classroom, it is really awkward how she just kind of like walks by him and he's like, oh.
But if you didn't think there was enough running, here's my note. Will and Allie run into each other while each of them are running and then decide to run together. Running! And then, oh God, I forgot about this.
Oh no.
At the end, they have this like heart-to-heart conversation and Will just says, I want to go into politics. Oh, you want to be a politician?
I want to be the president.
I don't want to just be a politician. I want to be the politician.
The politician.
The president. I know it sounds crazy to say. Yeah, it actually does, especially in the context of this movie.
Yeah, like this had you fooled, though. I think, or I don't know.
I knew the end of it.
That is true, but it does kind of
don't project onto me.
It does kind of set up that he's the one
because he has grand aspirations.
Well, yeah, I mean the whole movie is setting
being
up
the football team captain wasn't clear enough, so it's like let's say he wants to be the president.
Yeah, so the whole movie's setting up that he is the guy.
Will and Lance get into a fight at their next game because Lance is so distracted by Jen, who's a cheerleader on the sideline.
He doesn't block for him, and then he gets sacked.
Yeah, Will gets sacked hard.
Hard.
And they lose this game, and it's like, well, what was the whole big deal about them making it a state in the last game when they can lose this game and it's not a big deal? So then it's made out that if they beat the next game against the Dragons, their team is called the Knights, so it's the Knights versus the Dragons, but the Dragons are undefeated. Oh my. So much drama, my notes say.
Drama.
Lance and Jen to Will. Marco being the mean stepbrother to Will. And like, I think it's coming up. He plants some fake cheat sheet on Will's shoe to make it seem like he's cheating on Mr. Moore's test. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Settle.
Miles tells Allie he is able to see the future.
Tellers.
And sure.
Yeah, there we go.
He tells her that he can see the future, which then leads to him having a vision about them looking at the book. So then they find this secret page. And wouldn't you know it, it all talks about how Arthur's reincarnation will come about on the day where there's I don't know if they specify a lunar eclipse. An eclipse?
An eclipse and an asteroid shower.
And a meteor shower.
Meteor shower, yeah.
Well, geez, that's got to be like 1,000 years.
One in every 1,000 years. So then he does a little research. Next Friday, the big game, or not even not the big game yet.
Next Friday is once in 1,000 years. Yeah. And this is where Allie chimes in. Oh, the same day as the big game. So that is how tropey this movie is that the joke term that we use for all of these Disney Channel movies is just...
They now use.
It's just part of the text of this movie is like, hey, this is the big game. Yeah, this movie sucks. But if we can actually write one of these DCOM movies, which we always say, like, I could have written this, blah, blah, blah. In this case, we kind of actually did.
We did.
And that just shows how lame it is. Because we're hacks, if you didn't know, we're total hacks. Don't. So Allie tells her parents about the prophecy, and they're like, oh shit, we were right. What? Yep, we moved here because we had suspicions about this prophecy and also about Will Wagner. And it's like, were they reading like newspaper articles?
I mean,
like what would have been like, I think this guy is going to be the reincarnated King Arthur. Just so stupid. So then it's the night of the big game, which I think we probably need to like put like TM out there. Like
the big game.
Sure, we are 12 years after this movie came out, but you can't steal the big game from us, Disney Channel. However, Will sees Lance. He's driving up to the game, which this is the only game that takes place at night. And as he's driving up, he sees that Lance and Jen are in the same car. So he gets pissed and drives away.
Yeah, like this is literally right at game time.
What's the clearest sign that drama's occurring here? Where Allie's got to run. So she runs after Will and finds him at that tree.
Is she physically running or does she drive?
She might have gotten dropped off, but she's running to the tree.
Or did she get dropped off by that other dude?
I don't know, because Miles, he does have a car later here. I don't think he knows, because Miles pulls up. She runs the whole way to this tree.
Yes.
As she sees Will, she gets shoved by a shadowy figure who is Marco.
We think.
It has to be Marco.
What was the point of pushing her?
I don't know.
And then everything turns green.
So it's all mystical looking.
Yes, it does look kind of cool, but the green, it was weird.
So she catches up to Will and tells him, you're King Arthur.
You are the one.
You have to go back and win this game.
But he doesn't take it as, you are him. He just takes, you gotta, leave.
As a metaphor that, I have to, I can't leave the knights behind. I have to lead them or
because,
whatever.
yes, that is the name of the football team, the Knights.
So he gets in to drive and says, like, see ya. And she's like, no, Will, you don't get it.
And
then Miles pulls up in a car
Yes.
so that she could get to the game quicker, which is odd because there's a scene explicitly where Miles rides his bike up to Allie at her house. So I don't know.
Why didn't he drive him around before? Yeah.
I mean, like sometimes I would ride my bike instead of driving. Not anymore because now I'm lazy. So then the game is going horribly because their sub and quarterback can't even like take a snap without fumbling.
Yeah, he is pretty bad.
Oh, and actually, I think I skipped over it. But as I said, Marco, this is just very funny because Marco gives him a cheat sheet. He sneaks a cheat sheet because they're stepbrothers, so he just like put it on his shoe. So then Mr. Moore discovers it in class, but then he's like, it's okay because you're such a nice guy. I won't hold it against you so you can play in the big game. #TM, whatever.
TM.
Copyright. But then his like teammates are all like, you're a cheater. We need a better leader than you dumb cheater. And it's like, why would these football jocks care about him cheating?
It was kind of weird. The practice immediately after they do something similar, I think they actually put sticky notes on his foot, which is how he cheated.
And then they're just like acting like jerks to everybody, which we hadn't seen them do before.
They were throwing balls at just random people.
But it's supposed to be a scene where it's like, wow, Will's such a good guy and all these guys are jerks. And,
and during the game too, like
football players always get easy passes. They're probably like, hey man, nice try. I wish I could cheat on all the tests.
Like the
school.
very first play, they let him get sacked too, don't they?
I don't know.
And they're like, that's for cheating. And but I think what's his name had a premonition too. He's like, oh, that's gonna hurt.
I just didn't want to forget that because it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Back to...
And then he's like, we got to do this. We got to... I'm sorry I let you down. We just got to win.
Yeah, back to the big game. He shows up. He's getting into play.
But he's not intense. He's like whispering, we just have to do this. We need to win. His intensity is not good.
Well, the intensity of the scene ratchets it up because they cut the lights on the field. I can't tell if this was like purposeful because then the meteor shower happens.
Immediately happens.
I don't know if the announcers are like, hey, we're going to watch this real quick, guys. Turn off the lights. The moon that a second ago wasn't starting to be eclipsed is now like halfway eclipsed.
Correct.
And then the meteor shower is going on. So it's like, oh, I guess it is the night of the prophecy. The lights come back on. The game continues. They're starting to do fine or whatever. Then it's halftime. So they're in their very nice locker room, actually.
It's really nice.
And he makes up with Lance.
As opposed to the field, which might have shorter end zones than regulation.
Well, it's because it's probably like a makeshift. If they're in New Zealand, maybe it's like a rugby or like a soccer field, football field. He makes up with Lance and says, like, we're like the Knights of the Round Table. I don't care if you went behind my back with my girl. I didn't really like her that much anyways. Cool.
Everything's all good and peachy.
But more drama happens because Will, while he's going to the field, forgets his helmet. And then through some shenanigans, Jen, who the fuck is... Oh, Jen's his girl. I'm like, who the fuck is Jen?
Jen Psaki.
Allie and Miles catch up with him and see that he was shoved into the theater, the school theater that we haven't seen at all, by Marco.
And it looks like he had been stabbed like in the guts or something. He's like laying in the ground.
He hit part of the school setting. He had like a cut on his head.
Oh, okay.
And this is where we get a dramatic reveal where this whole time, at one point we find out that in Arthurian legend, Mordred is actually King Arthur's stepbrother. Yeah. Though apparently that's not actually true. In actual Arthurian legend, I think Mordred, according to IMDb trivia, is like his son or stepson. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you actually know the legend enough that you'd be excited that Mordred is referenced in this movie.
This is bullshit.
That this would get it wrong and it's misleading.
Fallacies.
But it gets it wrong because Mr. Moore is actually Mordred and not Marco. So we get this whole dumb thing where Mordred isn't Marco. Marco says, my parents are part of the Order of the Bear. I'm a good guy. Well, then why were you a total bad guy the whole movie? It was so Mr. Moore would like me or think I didn't like Will because Will is King Arthur. Why the candy skeletons or the candy spiders at the party? Mr. Moore wasn't there.
No.
You actually wasn't around most of the time you were doing bad stuff in the movie.
Just give him an excuse.
He also didn't seem to like you very much in his classes. So it's very stupid. And then
there should have at least been like a throwaway scene, like where they could have been talking to one another or something like that.
We could have gotten some, dramatic black and white, not real flashbacks of being like, this is what I was doing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We don't get that, but Marco just pops up and shoves Mr. Mordred into the orchestra pit at this theater. Oh, he also tells Miles, hey, Miles, you're Merlin. cool, which me and Jacob had already kind of put together. Moore, who has always had this like cane walking stick thing, transforms into, he gets like a suit of armor onto him, into kind of a hot, sexy looking knight. I thought he looked sort of like Isildur in Lord of the Rings at like the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring. And then he's about to fuck shit up. They're like throwing stuff at him, but he's got all these magic powers and he's like super speedy. So he's like knocking people over or whatever. And then Allie grabs a prop sword. And there had been a bit earlier in the movie where they drop that any sword that King Arthur picks up will become Excalibur, which is not accurate to the legend at all. And that's only because in this situation, as she's picked up this prop sword to defend Will, the sword actually turns into Excalibur because Allie was King Arthur the whole time. So then how does any of this make sense?
None of it makes sense.
So Mordred isn't Will's stepbrother.
No.
Or Allie's stepbrother, so that relation doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Who is Marco then in this whole thing? I don't know. Miles had visions about Allie. That makes sense, though I don't know if Merlin really has visions. Who is Will then? I don't know. The only person we know is an actual person is Lance, who is Lancelot, so that's like pretty explicitly spelled out.
Yeah.
And this isn't even the first thing to go. As Jacob knows, the actress who plays Allie went on to be a girl boss in a Netflix series called Girl Boss. And she was girl bossing it up as King Arthur, but also the anime and video game series Fate. They already got a King Arthur that's a girl, so like they were ahead of this before Disney Channel anyways.
Yeah.
But apparently in the book, she's not King Arthur. She is the lady in the water who, or the lady of the lake who either gives him Excalibur or like
Lady
tells him how to
Night.
get Excalibur. Again, very loosely based on the book. Probably makes more sense in the book because she's not like like the red herring of Marco being the stepbrother doesn't even make sense then because she's King Arthur. So none of this makes any fucking sense. It's all so stupid. But it does lead to the coolest part of the movie where Allie gets transported into the dreamscape, whatever this magical space from her dream at the beginning of the movie, where she is leading the knights on a horse. She's not wearing a helmet, so you can see her nice flowing blonde hair, riding towards Mordred, who is the single knight, as we saw at the beginning, and he's shooting like magic shit at her. Knocks her off of the horse, which is just like what happened in the beginning of the movie. And then they have a sword versus staff with magic fight, which I don't really know how Mordred was going to kill her, because he's like hitting her with waves of magic, and she like gets hit.
Bounces off.
But she's not going to die.
Yeah, she's not affected.
And his staff can't stab or anything.
All of these effects are, this end part is, I mean, easily my favorite part of the movie. Like when they're clashing like
no, it's the only good part of the movie.
No, I mean, it is really good.
It's kind of like, not quite the opposite of When Do You Woo Homecoming Warrior, but like that was like, the best part of the movie was like the early fight scene.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't even have multiple fight scenes. No, it just has this last one.
This is
and
the big game.
And it comes so late into the movie when like so much of the rest of the movie sucks so hard.
Yeah. Like I said, the first three quarters are just running around. It's really kind of meh. But I don't even know if this makes up for it, but it is a fun sequence.
And it's good. Lengthy as well because they're fighting, and then it cuts back to Will and Lance who appear. Which I don't even know if Lance was in the theater at that point, but they're fighting other knights. Who I'm like, wait, were there knights actually at the beginning of the movie? Because I thought Mordred was by himself. Who are they fighting?
Yeah, but they're all transforming into Merlin. They're all transforming into like
Miles is turning into Merlin.
Yep, and he's like casting spells, and he takes the rod away from.
Yeah, he uses magic somehow to get Mordred's staff, which then turns into a different staff in his hands.
And then he gets his sword.
And then Mordred just pulls out a sword and like, why weren't you like dual wielding or just using that to start with? Eventually, it ends because Mor doesn't have his staff anymore. Allie beats him, but doesn't like kill him. She's just
they
like,
get busted
surrender.
by some police officer or something.
They get transported back to the real world, where there's a very Scooby-Doo-ass like security officer being like, "You ain't supposed to be here. Officer of this school, arrest them. She's actually King Arthur. She pulled this sword on me." "What, you mean this dumb plastic sword?" "No, it was real." He gets dragged away and says, "I would have done it if it wasn't for you meddling reincarnated Knights of the Round Table."
Yeah, he's done, and they basically they won. They won the big game.
Will goes, he wins the game. They're going to state.
Yeah.
He
runs it in. He's so selfish.
Yeah, he wins.
He should have thrown it to his knight, his buddy knight.
And it's unclear. Well, actually, no, it's not even unclear. It is implied that he was gone this whole time.
Yeah.
Because he comes back and it's like 12 seconds left in the game, but they're not losing that bad.
What I'm guessing is that their team was on defense.
And they just really ran
so
out
there was
the
no
corner.
offense.
They ran out both corners.
Oh, is that how much time was left?
There's 12 seconds left in the whole game.
But
so maybe,
who knows?
I assume it was halftime because otherwise, why would they have been in the locker room?
Yeah.
There's a dumb thing where Marco kneels before King Allie because she's such a girl boss.
Yeah,
it's stupid.
Too.
Will wins because he's such a Chad, even though he's not King Arthur anymore. So he probably should have passed it to his friend Lance, and that would have been cooler. He kisses Allie afterwards, and then he has the great line of saying, "Well, if you're the reincarnation of King Arthur, what does that make me?" To which Jacob said,
"Gay."
Which I don't know if that really makes sense. But it was somebody came up with the exact same joke on a Letterboxd review I read. Yeah. So it's at least so funny of a joke that two people thought of the same thing.
That's right.
And then the final scene of the movie is the first time we see the school cafeteria. All the characters, plus some other people we've never seen, all sit at a round table.
That's right. And they all like...
If it wasn't clear enough...
They all get into their,
they're all in bad cosplay.
Yeah, they all get into their knights uniforms.
And the table turns into a more fitting medieval round table.
Yes.
And then they all draw swords and stick them in the center. And it's I hate it, the movie. And this is all there's a pop song playing behind them. And it's just this sucks so much. And then we see her on her horse again. That leads into a bad freeze frame of her on the horse, which then just transforms into the credits as we see, which seems to be the trend now, is either we get bloopers for the credits or we just get scenes from the movie replayed again.
Yes.
And that was Avalon High.
Hey.
More like Avalon low on my list of DCOMs.
Avalon goodbye.
Avalon thank you next. So, yeah, I think my points about this movie I've made pretty clear throughout our discussion. It has all of the worst tendencies and tropes of a DCOM all shoved into this movie that is supposed to be, in Jacob's eye, automatically potentially good because it's magical. But the magic is such an afterthought to what's going on. There's also some parts that look like they filmed it on a consumer level digital camera. There's parts of this movie that just look oddly really very bad.
Shots. I do understand that they had to save the magic stuff because they couldn't spoil that she was King Arthur.
They still could have fit some stuff of the side characters, or they did have some illusions where they'd be look at the football players walking down the hallway. They're knights.
That was another cool scene. I did like that.
Felt very much like the Big Green.
There are scenes in this and moments where it would be if they had more of it. This could have been one of my this could have been one of my maybe more favorite films if they would have had more throughout rather than just all like you said, back ended and the other 3/4 of the movie is just kind of meh.
You can't see me, ladies and gentlemen, listeners, but I am making quite the dubious face.
He's agreeing.
Jacob.
I mean, Lucas said it himself.
We're generally pretty positive on these movies.
Yeah.
Except for all the Twitch's movies. So a lot of this director's movies. He also directed Full Court Miracle, which
got really dark.
If Judah Maccabee popped up, that would have been tight.
Yeah.
This movie is pretty bad. Not the worst DCOM ever, but maybe it's just I got to get my DCOM legs back under me. This was a full 90 minutes, and it felt like a full 90 minutes. It dragged on long and hard. But this episode won't drag on too long and hard because we're going to address now one of our recurring segments.
A whole new.
Never forget.
Never
remember.
Forget. Oh, shit. Forgot we even do this.
So, would Allie Pendragon, could she have stopped 9/11?
I think if we're going to do this, we would have to look at them all as a collective. It would be
the Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah.
So if we look at it as a group, I think the X factor is Miles / Merlin.
Yeah, Merlin.
Because otherwise it's I don't know.
They would have crashed the planes. They might have prevented them from hitting the towers.
They got a sword. Maybe they can fight Al-Qaeda with that. But Miles,
I mean, they only had box cutters. They have fucking swords.
Actually, no, Miles, like, has a vision, and he's like, no, you actually shouldn't go on that plane because it's gonna crash. So,
there
like,
you go.
He made it so she couldn't save it. It's like a whole Final Destination movie going on of him trying to save. Because that might have been a thing where, like, she could have stopped it.
Yeah, and he's like,
but
no.
she would have had to sacrifice herself to do it.
Yeah, and he's
which
like,
then, I don't know,
it's
she
not
could have just
worth
been
it.
reincarnated again. But
That
Miles
is true.
said, no, I have to save you, my liege. So I guess they didn't stop 9/11.
died.
Some hero King Arthur is.
Sad.
But as Jacob was just getting to, we actually have... The reason we actually had to delay this episode so long is I had to find another Mountain Dew flavor. So this is not just our semi-recurring segment, A Whole New Pop. This is the sub-segment that I'm introducing now of A Whole New Pop, which is Do You Believe in Magic? Because we mostly seem to talk about Mountain Dew flavors, so that's why we are doing Do You Believe in Magic? Jacob is looking at his phone, otherwise he would be paying enough attention that he should be
walking over
giving a massive round of applause to my great pun. Introducing our flavor, we last time had Baja Blast Gold, which was a pineapple. Like our sub-segment, this is a sub-variant, so we have Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
Just like mango?
This is Mango Gem,
okay.
so more clear
Looks
what it
like
is than Gold Rush or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So this is Mountain Dew with the blast of natural and artificial mango flavor.
Wow.
How do you feel about mango?
I think I'm generally a fan of mango. I know as soon as I taste this, I'm gonna say, "Oh, it's very
My guess
sour
is
to my lips."
It's gonna taste like Mountain Dew, as so many of these reviews have gone. I don't know if I've eaten mango and sometimes I enjoy them. Trader Joe's used to have a really good mango gummy candy, and we don't live by a Trader Joe's.
It's like hour and a half away.
So I had gotten it one time, and I'm like, these are really fucking good. So I actually would like find people reselling them on.
Smell that! It's very strong.
It's very mango. They would sell this gummy candy on Amazon.
Like mango, though.
But then they turned it vegan apparently, and everybody hated the new vegan taste. So then they just stopped making the candy.
Boo.
So Jacob, you take our first taste
want to do this
test.
at the same time?
I don't remember how we do it.
I don't know if I like that. It takes a little bit.
Let's lick our lips and click our tongues more.
I
think it's good.
Yeah, it takes a little bit, not right away. There's a weird flavor right away, and then you kind of taste them
compared to the ones we've had so far in the show. This one is the most. It's actually doing what it's tasting like it's supposed to,
and it doesn't have that Mountain Dew kick like the.
It doesn't have quite like the same aftertaste, which I think is kind of a positive because the heavy dewness can sometimes just make everything taste the same. So I think of the ones we've had so far, which I can't remember if is this the third or
one maybe,
because we had Mountain Dew hot and spicy or whatever.
That was awful.
Which was nothing to write home about. Mountain Dew, the pineapple one, Gold Rush or whatever the fuck. It was decent. But this one might get a recommendation from me.
Yeah,
if you think you like at least artificial mango flavor, it's pretty good.
When it hits your lips at first, I don't like it.
When it hits your lips like a big piece. I think I made that exact...
That's a do.
You used that reference, I think, of hitting your lips, and I think I made that exact same joke. When you do podcasts for as long as we have, sometimes you just repeat jokes, even if they're in back-to-back episodes. Like,
that's okay.
It's been a while. We've done that like 3 times. And there'll be times I listen to podcasts where I'll hear a guy who's been doing a podcast longer than me, and I've been listening to it for, 10 years or something. I'm like, I've already heard this story. He tells the same story all the time. And I'm like, doesn't he know? And I've talked about this before, but sometimes you just say a bunch of shit and you don't fucking remember anything that you said. And then you record or you edit the podcast and you're like, I said this? I'm totally wrong. All right, I guess we have to leave that in now. So yeah, that's a recommendation for A Whole New Pop sub-segment, Do You Believe in Magic? To check out Mountain Dew Mango Gem. It's a gem. Much more than this movie.
It's a gem.
If you want to write in about your own takes about Mountain Dew Mango Gem, you can write us at awholenewpod@gmail.com. Somehow we haven't recorded in over a month and we still haven't got any emails. Oh, what? That's definitely never happened before because we have such a rabid listener base. Totally. Ha ha ha. You can also find us on your podcast platform of choice, but specifically follow us on Spotify, rate, review, and subscribe to us, or follow us on Apple Podcasts. Also find us at youtube.com/awholenewpod, where you can like, comment, and subscribe to our videos there as a different way to consume the podcast with a still image.
Yes.
You can also follow me on Letterboxd at fat_tomato.
I have one now, too.
This episode has been so long coming that, like, right when we finished, like, I think right after we did the last episode or around there, Jacob created his own Letterboxd account and then basically hasn't used it since.
No.
He rated every movie he's ever seen 4 stars, including every Disney Channel original movie. So apparently to Jacob, despite hating...
The Color of Friendship.
Noted hater of The Color of Friendship. It's still as good as every other Disney Channel original movie. But I wanted to read... Jerker19 for this account that Jacob has already said he doesn't really use anymore. Because Jacob loves starting new social media accounts.
I'll get back into it.
But I wanted to read the one review that Jacob seemed to have been very passionate about that he wrote for the movie Spiderhead. 4 stars, and also gets a like for it, which also Jacob, I think, uses the like heart for a lot of stuff on his Letterboxd reviews. So 4 stars for me would be like, I'd say that would be a very good movie. That's my own rating system. But as I just said, everything's basically 4 stars for Jacob.
Yeah.
Like 5, he rated like 5 things 5 stars, and everything else is 4 stars. So Spiderhead, which is a movie that came out on Netflix that everybody has already even forgotten that it existed, starring Miles Teller and Chris Hemsworth, and Jacob wrote in a stunning review.
Oh, no.
Most definitely a COVID piece that many people will fail to grasp. Filmed with minimal cast and primarily on a single soundstage, this film creates the exact claustrophobic vibe throughout it was going for. Well, I mean, if it accomplished what it was going for. One of Chris Hemsworth's better performances in an overall successfully executed think piece from rising director Joseph Kosinski. Any other buzzwords you want to throw in there? Where's this passion and insightful criticism on all of these episodes where Jacob would just be like, This movie would be better if it like had like better scenes that I like more in it. Cool, thank you, Jake.
I love the end of Avalon High. The first.
I thought you were going to say you love the end of Spiderhead. I'm like, arguably the end of Spiderhead is the worst part of that movie. I believe I rated that movie 2 or 2.5 stars.
Have you watched Gray Man yet?
No, I've heard that is quite bad, though.
Yeah. It'll probably get 4 stars.
I mean, if Jacob's saying it's bad, it still means it's 4 stars, but that means it's really bad.
Yeah, it could have been a lot better.
Gray Man, more like, I hear there's a lot of gray smoke during all the action scenes, so you can't see what's going on.
It's no bueno.
But
we did see Nope, right?
We saw Nope. Which I still don't know how I really feel about that.
Yeah,
movie.
I don't know.
It's good.
Maybe we need to rewatch it at some point.
Yeah. I think I should give Us another chance as well.
Yeah.
Something that I'm not going to give another chance is the rest of this podcast.
Avalon High.
Also Avalon High, that's not going to get a rewatch from me.
We might watch the final 10 minutes, okay?
No, I can just watch Lord of the Rings or something.
That is true.
Before we forget,
new series coming on.
We plugged our Letterboxd accounts, but also follow the podcast Twitter account run by our good friend Dustin at AWNPod on Twitter. It's been long enough that now I fully know the name.
It's etched.
Follow us on there. We probably could have let Dustin have like an update being like, Lucas has COVID right now. Don't expect another episode for a couple of weeks, but we like to keep the mystery going.
We haven't had anybody on here in a while, have we?
Well, we also haven't recorded an episode in a while, so automatically we extra long time.
It's been a while.
Well, we got the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody coming up, so maybe that'll be the spark for, I don't know, Dustin to want to be on. Apparently he's got a Mountain Dew to hand off to us, so.
Yeah, then we need him on. We need him taste testing.
I think we'll just leave it at that.
That's all, folks.
I swear I had something to finish this podcast with, but, there's some things I might not ever forget, and one of those things is fuck Sandblazing.
Fuck Sandblazing.
And they were roommates.
Oh my god, they were roommates.